Why does it matter for me whether a UN, United Nations University base would be established in Kőszeg, in my country, linked with the Institute of Advanced Studies, directed by Professor Myslivec? Answer to this question is very simple, because I was very intensively involved in the United Nations University activities in the late 1970s and during the 1980s in various projects and research programs. One of them was in the late 1970s, the so-called UNO project, Preparation of Societies for Life in Peace. That was based upon the resolution of the United Nations General Assembly, convened by the General Secretary, appointing a group of people, group of experts for a panel which should raise new ideas how to execute the aims of the project that is Preparation of Societies for Life in Peace. I was one of these members among 17, and this project was executed by the United Nations University. The group was chaired by the vice rector of the United Nations University. I myself also wrote a paper on that. It was real emancipation and peaceful cooperation among the states, aiming at a new international, new democratic world order. That was published by the United Nations University in a special issue of the Bulletin of Peace Proposal. As a matter of fact, this project, which was obviously multidisciplinary, has been almost forgotten since that time. And although it is more important and more urgent than ever, instead of preparation of societies for life in peace, nowadays we sadly witness just the opposite. Preparation of societies for life, or only survival, in war. This is very sad, and the same applies to the fact that even the United Nations organization itself has forgot the original aim and function, namely to preserve peace and to eliminate the arms race and the general disarmament. As I know, only the late, recently died Francis the Pope who consistently argued for the ending of all wars, emphasizing that there is no war which can be considered just, because a war, whatever it is, involves mass killing, mass murdering. And he was, unfortunately, more or less the only one who also pointed to the fact that behind all the wars, regional and other wars, we find the interest of the arms producers and arms exporters, more exactly what General Eisenhower, the President of the United States, called the military-industrial complex, which nowadays is also military, industrial and research complex, because an increasing number of researchers do research for military purposes. I wonder whether there is at all research on these issues within the United Nations University, and as regards the Hungarian Academic Research Network, except COSAC, where there are research projects related to these issues. Let me mention other projects or programs, research programs within the United Nations University in which I participated, which was of course a great honor for me. Another one called Transformation of the World, Economy and Society. This was part of the United Nations University project entitled Socio-Cultural Development Alternatives in a Changing World. Another one was also as a part of the same project called The Transformation of the World, Culture and Thoughts. I also participated in both, and the books appeared, including my contributions as well. There was an even bigger international research project organized and initiated by the United Nations University called Global Crisis and Transformation. An obviously multidisciplinary project. And I was one of the members of the steering committee directed by the Vice Rector of the United Nations University, Professor Kinida Mushakoji. I contributed by several papers, and moreover, between 1983 and 1987, I was employed by the United Nations University as a consultant, having honored by a UN passport too, and also worked as a local coordinator in Eastern Europe and Hungary. I involved, among others, Professor Mislibets as well, and the final report appeared, including my contributions. Moreover, the related works of me was published in a UN and Z book in London and New Delhi, namely Transformation of the World Economy. That was the title of this small book. There was an educational project or program involving several Hungarian scholars, also Mislibets, professor, for dozens of graduates from Africa, to which a number of Hungarian scholars contributed by lectures and keeping seminars. This was also partly organized by myself. And I may also say that I initiated, together with Professor Kinida Mushakoji and the Secretary General of the Hungarian Academy of Sciences, the cooperation agreement between the United Nations University and the Hungarian Academy. So much about my reason why I really care of the success of the recommended UNU, United Nations University base in Kőszeg. But why it is to be in Kőszeg and why I ask the proper place for it? As a member of the International Advisory Board, although I cannot contribute too much to the work of this institute, but I keep my eyes on its development, on its projects, on its events. I would say that is obviously from the very beginning of a multidisciplinary nature, which is of course very important. I don't see any other institutions in Hungary which are so properly and globally multidisciplinary in nature, in character, in structure. The research programs of this institute focus always on the most acute, most timely and relevant issues, not only on global levels, but also on regional, national and local levels. And with a dialectical viewpoint, namely how the whole affects the parts and how the parts, any of parts, may affect somehow the entire body. Research programs involve practice-oriented development projects as well, including cooperation, very successful cooperation with local governments as well as civil society organizations and even the various churches. This institute combines research and education, as well as dissemination of the research results and advising also the policy makers. Cultural events, so cultural issues are also parts of the activity of this institute. Also protecting and developing the cultural heritage of the town Kőszeg. Final question may be that why I would recommend this institute led by Professor Myslibets. Well, I had the privilege to follow his career from the very beginning. In the early 70s, when I returned from Africa, where I worked at the University of Dar es Salaam as the head and professor of economics, and also as a member appointed by the President of the Republic in the directorial board of the National Development Corporation. I established development studies the first time in Hungary, and remembering, of course, to the development studies what we established at the Dar es Salaam University, together with those people who came from the famous and internationally first Institute of Development Studies, namely the one in Sussex. Then I established these, as I mentioned, development studies courses, multidisciplinary courses in which several departments, the Department of History, Department of Philosophy, and the Development of the World Economy were cooperating. The best, absolutely the best student of mine was Ferenc Myslibets.